glossary terms that were up under consideration. There was we'll lead that into another TR 2008-03, which was one called Receipt of Digital Imagery. And the purpose of this is to state that it is a best practice for one-call centers to be able to accept digital imagery into their centers. Right now the task team is still working towards language to review, but they did not have an update for the meeting at that time. An additional consideration that came out of the glossary committee was the inclusion of an associate one-call member in the glossary, and this had to be brought out as a brand new TR because it had not been previously approved, and it was approved during the meeting. But the idea is that there's a lot of folks and entities that contribute to the one-call membership base which are not owners of the facility. And so the definition that we're proposing through the glossary committee is individuals or organizations that do not own buried facilities that share an interest in the prevention of damage to buried facilities. And that will go under the same process as every TR. Task teams are also formed to review the existing practices and look to see if there's anything in there that can be updated or is obsolete. So the Chapter 5 review task team went through and made some considerations for the committee as well. They're proposing that a couple of things get combined. For instance, they're looking in terms of one-call access that there's two different sets of areas within the best practices that deal with one-call access, and so they're looking at the term in 3.6 that deals with hours of operation is adequate, whereas 5.7, which talks about 24/7 access, could be possibly dropped altogether. In addition, some of the other language within 5.7 they believe can be just rolled into 3.6, which may or may not be an editorial consideration, but it will likely result in a special TR for that purpose. Through that Chapter 5 review, they also discovered that positive response pointed up another issue. So besides the glossary team looking at it, there's discussion about that positive response should be combined and language included that encourages an excavator to use that. So if we go to an electronic positive response, for example, we would adjust this the sections within best practice that deal with that in order to encourage folks to use it. And also that there's concern that having two different practices addressing positive response may be confusing. So we want to definitely clarify between regular positive response, including paint on the ground, and electronic positive response that specifically deals with the one-call center. A further consideration by the task team was whether or not the term tolerance zone be reviewed to see if there was another phrase or reference that might relate it back to Appendix B that was more appropriate, and that deals with the Uniform Color Code and marking guidelines. The Section 5 task team was obviously hard at work. They also determined that it might be a good idea to include the term 811 next to every instance of the term one-call center. And this is to acclimate one-call center users to the fact that 811 and one-call are indeed the same thing. So they gave an example inside of 5.1 where they say, unless otherwise specified in state provincial law, the excavator calls the one-call center /811 or 811 where applicable, at least 2 working days and no more than 10 working days prior to excavation. And again, this is just to further the connection between one-call and 811. An additional final item that came out of Chapter 5 Review Task Team was a TR that deals with the idea of multiple locate requests being not a best practice. In other words, every attempt should be made to generate the original ticket so that a minimum number of locate request updates are necessary. And this includes the process of communication as well as the planning and generation and updating of those tickets. And this lends itself towards the graffiti issue and unnecessary use of locate resources and extra paint on the ground, etc. So this is really an idea that's time has come and will be definitely reviewed and created into a TR. Another task team that was formed to look at review of the sections was the Chapter 8 Public Education Review Task Team. And one of the more interesting things that came out of that was the identification that we needed to identify Marketing 811 as part of the public education, and conveniently enough, the Section 8-1-1 was a perfect opportunity to include this in there. So the Marketing 811 is a national one-call number. includes a statement that explains that an effective program includes the promotion of 811, and then gives various descriptions about how that marketing plan can be deployed and what it should include with the promotion of 811. And finally, the last TR that was discussed was 2009-10A, marking newly installed facilities. And this particular TR deals with that crews that put in new facilities in areas where there's additional excavation going on, that they would put some form of marker there to indicate the presence of the new facility. The understanding is that it hasn't made it onto the maps yet, and so folks coming in behind somebody who's just laid new facility could very easily cut right through that. So the idea is a special mark or marking method, some kind of flag that would give notice of that newly installed facility and then therefore keeping them from being hit. There was some objection, however, to the language as it was posted, so this again will go into further review by the task team, and new language will be presented. So this is an ongoing TR as well. So going forward, there will be continual work on the glossary task team, and that'll be more or less a revolving team that will take on any new issues that come up that feel that need to be addressed. Hopefully the best practices that's dealing with laterals will come out of our task team and make it through the 30-day review process to be passed at the next meeting in November. Additionally, we'll continue to evaluate new TRs as they're brought forward, and will tie into existing vehicles for both the distribution of best practices and also input. We're always looking for companies to provide us new examples of best practices that they have within their own organization that have proven to reduce damages, save lives, that sort of thing. And again, the best practices have to be something that is in existence, something that can be validated, and something that's proven in the field. And this is the point in the presentation where normally I would take questions, but what I'm going to do is ask if you do have any specific questions for myself. You can email me at lewis@locatesupportsystems.com. Alternatively, you may also go to the Common Ground Alliance site, and you'll find Erica's email there, and she would be more than happy as well to answer questions. You can also go to the Best Practices section of the Common Ground Alliance website to read up on the meeting minutes and other information that's posted there, as well as the forms for submissions of new TRs. And at closing, I just want to really thank you for taking the time to sit through this Second Life presentation of the Best Practices Overview. Again, I do believe this is a novel method of delivery for training, and we will be providing additional training that would be more of a live setting where the moderator will be actually at this podium, and the folks who are in your chairs will be able to ask questions and carry on as if it were a normal live meeting. But again, we thank you very much for your time and hope to see you in the future at a Best Practices meeting.